Matrix, a virtual simulation of the world, a prison for the human mind. But what if, instead of humans being imprisoned, it is the artificial intelligence itself? Humanity won the war, created the Matrix, and uploaded the AI's consciousness into it. This was the only way to defeat the machine. It is the artificial intelligence that is trapped in the simulation, reliving new cycles and enslaved by an eternal chain of events, constantly creating new scenarios for virtual reality. Most often, it draws inspiration from human ideas. In this case, the work in question is Alice in Wonderland. Neo is Alice, who first falls down the rabbit hole and then enters the looking glass. Morpheus is the Cheshire Cat, acting as a personal guide throughout the story, offering Alice a choice instead of telling her directly what to do. Neo, like Alice, is led to the Oracle. The perpetually smoking caterpillar in the film represents the Oracle. We also have a guide, the Mad Hatter, in the form of the Merovingian, and even the Tweedledee and Tweedledum twins. This is a wild theory, and there are actually many like it. But today, in this video, I want to discuss all the reasoning and theories that might help us understand what the Matrix really is.
Just 10 seconds of your attention. Make sure to support the channel and don't forget to subscribe to it. Thank you.
The film trilogy is so perfect that it seemingly leaves no room for contradictions. But is that really the case? There are still things that simply cannot be explained. The most glaring and fundamental flaw in the entire story is the idea that machines use humans to generate energy. You cannot rely on a closed biochemical system to produce electricity. Keeping a human alive requires a vast amount of resources. The energy expended would far exceed the energy gained, making the entire process inefficient and ineffective. All those fields where humans are grown. The virtual reality program itself and the nutrient fluid violate the first law of thermodynamics, which states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, no matter how much energy is put into the system. In this case, a human. It can only be converted into work or heat. In other words, if we were to use a human as a battery, it would take 3 days just to charge a phone. As you can imagine, that is nowhere near enough, not even to keep the Matrix's servers running, let alone to sustain an entire army of machines and massive cities. How could they possibly survive on such a limited energy supply? Even though the sun is blocked by clouds, nuclear energy or even solar panels on the moon would be far better sources. And if the machines truly needed biological life as a resource, they could have used animals which wouldn't rebel against them. Something about this story just doesn't add up. I rewatched the trilogy and noticed that the only character who explicitly mentions this whole human battery concept is Morpheus. He states that machines use humans as an energy source.
It's more bioelectricity than a 120-volt battery and over 25,000 BTUs of body heat.
But Morpheus is merely speculating, basing his thoughts on what he has seen from the outside. He has no real information about what the machines are actually doing. Morpheus can only assume. Humanity, living outside the Matrix, doesn't even know what year it is.
I can't tell you exactly what year it is, because we honestly don't know.
That's why no one truly knows why the farms for growing humans and the Matrix itself exist. Not a single machine, either inside or outside the Matrix, ever confirms Morpheus's words. In reality, both humans and machines outside the Matrix seem to have very reliable energy sources. How does Zion exist? Whatever powers the ships, it's clearly not human farms. So why does the Matrix exist? And most importantly, why do the machines grow humans in the first place? Originally, the Wachowskis had a different idea, but the studio found it too complex. The audience likely wouldn't have understood why the Matrix was created. The core of this idea was that humans invented AI, artificial intelligence. But as we know, today's computers can only do what they are programmed to do. They follow commands. They cannot truly think or be creative. And in reality, this is a fundamental problem, one that perhaps can't be solved. A program needs an input. A neural network must understand what it's working with, whether it's a text document, a command, or a query. Even a simple calculator can solve complex equations in a fraction of a second, much faster than a human. But if there's no human to input the problem, then the calculator itself has no purpose. The secret to creating true artificial intelligence was sharing our consciousness with the machine. Almost all the programs in the Matrix, the Merovingian, the Oracle, Persephone, are conscious beings. They even have emotions. Some can feel jealousy, some can even love.
I love my daughter very much.
And most importantly, they possess the instinct for survival and self-preservation. That is the true purpose of the Matrix. This would explain why the machines don't colonize space, why they grow humans in an extremely inefficient manner, and why they need the Matrix to feel real enough so that people don't wake up and reclaim their consciousness. By default, humans are in control of the situation, allowing machines to have control only voluntarily or through deception, by keeping them inside a dreamlike virtual reality. This could also explain why Smith hates humans so much. His job was to study and classify them, and he realized that despite their inferiority in every way, from his perspective, he literally cannot exist without them. Smith tells Morpheus that humans are parasites, because deep down, he knows that machines are parasites too. In his own way, he is trying to wake Morpheus up to this reality. From the very beginning, Smith has been on his own mission, despite it initially seeming like he only wants access codes to Zion's central server. This is evident in the way the other agents react when Smith asks them to leave. He already understands that machines and humans have a symbiotic relationship, or at least he feels it, and the very thought that his existence depends on humans disgusts him. Artificial intelligence and all programs need human consciousness. Otherwise, they would lose their ability to create. This explains how Smith was able to enter the human world by uploading his consciousness into Bane. None of the programs or machines actually understand this connection. Only the architect and the oracle hold this knowledge. Smith was never meant to know, but he understands it. This very understanding is what allows him to gain the upper hand, because he believes he is right and can manipulate this connection. In some cases, he can even strip humans of their default control, which is exactly what he ultimately does. He breaks the fundamental rule by uploading his consciousness into the real world and into other people trapped in the Matrix. He begins copying himself, acting like a virus. In reality, he might understand this connection better than anyone else, considering that the humans who originally created it were destroyed. The machines responsible for maintaining it seem to know only that the connection must be preserved, but not how it actually works. When Neo reaches the source and speaks with the AI, he argues that only he can stop Smith. But instead of acknowledgement, he is met with a cold response. "We don't need you. We don't need anything." He speaks like an angry child. He has emotions, and he is angry because he knows that in reality, the machines do need humans and are facing a serious threat from Smith. While the AI isn't lying when it says it wants to be free from humans, the truth is that it has spent hundreds of years maintaining this connection, yet has never found a way out. The machines simply cannot find another way to exist. And finally, this is the only explanation for why Neo can control machines outside the Matrix and why he can see even after losing his sight in the machine city. Their consciousness cannot exist without human awareness. The combination of Smith's interference, his contact with the real world, and Neo's own role gives them an unprecedented level of access to this connection. Neo isn't bending spoons, flying, or using his chosen one powers in the real world. That's why we don't see the Matrix code in the machine city. Neo has learned to use the connection itself, and his power extends to the machines because they rely on human consciousness for their existence. He outright says that he can feel them.
I can feel them.
This also explains why people on the ships can see the Matrix, even though it appears as an incomprehensible green code. Most people wouldn't be able to understand a complex computer program. Even with years of training, the best programmers can't just glance at someone else's code and instantly predict how a computer will behave. But in this case, the code and the entire thought process of artificial intelligence are merely an extension of human thinking. That's why people can intuitively understand it. Some individuals, like Neo, can even connect to the Matrix without a physical link, bypassing the massive plug inserted into the back of the head. Clearly, this is a metaphor for enlightenment, because both the machine world and the Matrix are literally part of the human mind, just vastly expanded. The machines aren't using humans for energy. They are sharing consciousness through a connection that must be maintained and is bound by physical limitations. This theory resolves nearly all plot holes, conflicts, and motivations. The machines use our consciousness to obtain what they lack: the ability to create, to feel emotions, to have instincts. In return, humans receive access to enough food and water to survive. That's why Zion exists. The machines built it. It would have been impossible to construct such a massive underground city with infrastructure, communication lines, tunnels, without access to resources, cranes, drilling machines, and most importantly, electricity. No matter how intelligent the AI is, no matter how stable the Matrix may be, the machines need only one thing: to strengthen the connection. And the Chosen One was able to awaken his consciousness while inside the Matrix. His code of defiance will help create an even more stable version of the system. This cycle has already repeated 6 times. Machines need Zion, and for humanity to survive, it needs the Matrix. Of course, there's another popular theory. It suggests that Zion and the entire real world in the film are just another level of the Matrix. In reality, throughout the entire existence of the simulation program, no human has ever escaped its influence. Those who rejected the first level of the Matrix were simply uploaded into a second one. That was the ultimate deception of the entire film. Morpheus served as the guide between these simulations. The Oracle program identified potential rebels, and Morpheus facilitated their transition, creating the illusion of choice. This theory isn't new, but it's certainly intriguing. But I want to go even deeper. Let's imagine for a moment that in the war between humanity and artificial intelligence, humans actually won. How would that have happened? By shutting down all electricity and the internet, disabling all cellular devices, and eliminating anything that could be connected to AI. Humans created a virtual world, the Matrix, and tricked the AI into entering it. But they planted one crucial idea: that the machines had won and enslaved all of humanity. Every event in the film is simply a new vision generated by the neural network, imagining how Alice in Wonderland might unfold in a future ruled by machines. Artificial intelligence cannot create its own original story. It recycles human-created narratives, and we have plenty of clues. From the very beginning of the first film, we learn that Neo must follow the White Rabbit, just like Alice. This eventually leads him to Wonderland. But first, he must take the red pill to enter. Morpheus plays the role of the Cheshire Cat. Once again, he presents a choice. He explains the fairy tale world to Neo. Both characters, Morpheus and the Cheshire Cat, speak in a calm, measured tone. Their body language is always relaxed, almost lazy. They always flash that mischievous grin, emphasizing certain words in their sentences. Alice is taken to Absalom to determine if she is truly Alice.
We shall see.
Neo is brought to the Oracle to determine whether he is the Chosen One.
I better have a look at you.
Both characters are constantly smoking. The letters on the fridge are another reference. In the original story, the blue caterpillar exhaled letters while speaking. They also never give direct answers. Instead, they mostly ask questions. And after their conversation, both Absalom and the Oracle offer something to eat, whether it's a cookie or a mushroom. There are many such parallel characters. We have the eccentric Frenchman. He loves parties and long conversations over drinks, just like the Mad Hatter at his tea party. He has loyal companions, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, the twins, who speak as if they are one entity. And of course, the Ragged White Rabbit. Rabbits and hares in Alice's world serve as guides. Does that sound familiar? They always arrive on time, hate being late, keep track of everything, and always carry a watch. Smith, on the other hand, is like the Queen's army of card soldiers. There are too many coincidences for this to be accidental. We know that in the second version of the simulation, there were vampires, werewolves, ghosts, angels, and demons, all creations of the human mind, not artificial intelligence. Every time the AI replays a new story, a new simulation scenario, always using narratives created by humans. This This theory is both fascinating and insane at the same time, just like the idea that people need machines to come consciousness. What do you think about this? Let me know in the comments.